What we do here is go back.
Alright guys, before I start, let me make some points clear. For this video, I won't show any screenshots from Regit's personal server. I think it would basically be privacy invasion and would probably be unneeded anyways. And I'm not here to destroy a person's soul anyway. Another thing is, I think this video is really supposedly unnecessary considering your comment section have brought up great arguments and people are already making a bunch of great response videos. Unfortunately, despite replying to them, you seem to not let one sink in at all. Not to mention, Regit, you've been expecting me to do a video response anyway, so I will deliver. Next time, do listen to these people. It would make both of our jobs much easier. I don't want to make this video because this would stir up more discussion, but I also want to make this video because there's a lot to talk about. In the end, the final decision is what you see right now. Also, if you think I'm doing a content cop, no I'm not. A content cop would cover you and your channel. I will mostly talk about what's relevant in your video. This will be more like a content deputy, where I analyze points in your video. Let's get right into the video. Can't wait, can't you?
Now, before I properly get into this, I should make a couple of things clear. I don't think the whole Battle Cats community is garbage, but this statement does apply to a majority of it.
Majority, you say? So basically it would at least be over 50% of the community. That's what majority means, right? Not a small part of it? Well, I'll keep a note of it.
Now, something that's crucial to remember, a fair chunk of this video will feature generalizations, so it's important you know there are some good people around in the places I talk about, even if I don't mention them. Also, I suspect people will immediately be trying to complain that I'm only having a go at other people and aren't taking any responsibility myself. No, I won't be doing that. I'm at fault too.
Alright, so there are still some good people in this place you're gonna discuss. That's a fair point, I'll accept that. Also, if you're going to take responsibility for what you did wrong, alright, let's put those on the note too.
Frankly, the Battle Cats community is terrible. It honestly is one of the most poisonous places on the internet. That, of course, stems from the way the people in the community conduct themselves towards others. The way in which a large proportion of the community act towards others is truly awful.
Terrible, one of the most poisonous places in the internet, awful, and this describes the large portion of the community? You did say earlier that this will cover the majority, so you definitely sound confident there. To the note you go.
Even Nurse Woofer said to the OG lad Chillhats that he thought the Battle Cats community was trash.
Let's just say that Woofer thinks this community is garbage for a different reason than yours. And hey, he still likes it.
To explain things, I like to use analogies, so I'll start off with quite a popular one. This community is even more toxic than an Overwatch comp game. Competitive matches in Overwatch are home to fierce, high-stakes competition, that which brings out the worst in people. This is similar to the Battle Cats community. The problem mainly comes from the Battle Cats Discord, a sort of sewer home to many nasty bullies.
Difference is, you'd get salty in Overwatch because the bad skill of other people will bring you down with them. It doesn't work like that in Battle Cats. Now I would assume that by this Discord server you mean this one, and not any others. Which I will explain a bit later for other viewers. I won't say that none of us can act like bullies sometimes because that'll be a lie, which I'll discuss more later too.
In this Discord, all the hatred and ill will you could possibly expect from a group of people is concentrated into that small space like a kind of bad smell. It finds its way to the noses of many people on the outside. In the Battle Cats Discord, their toxic mannerisms are unprovoked, and this metaphorical bad smell is constantly diffusing into the noses of players throughout the community.
Being someone who left this group 3 months ago, you'd know this group is now private. Now pray tell on what you mean that the smell we have finds its way to the outside when this group is private. A quick explanation to those who doesn't know the story of this. Basically, years ago we had a public Reddit server when the game was still small. The growth is slow and the group too is small. Due to the slow growth and the small size of the community, the people in the server created a strong bond. As time goes on, like how friends are, they meme a lot there and would satirically insult each other for laughs. And it has become a normal thing to do as it is a small community with close people. And they all understand that these are all just satirical insults. However, as time goes on, this game catches many attention of public media and starts growing faster. It's only a matter of time until a fair amount of people finds themselves in this previously small and slow-growing community who consumes memes and spits insults daily. Despite this behavior being normal in the server, and by that I mean they only act like bananas when they're talking in this server, it would be natural that newcomers would see that this behavior is something toxic and weird. Now, let me quote myself from what I wrote in Conga's server. If I were to put it on another way, imagine the old server as a smaller group of people in a class that have been close to each other and pretty much would insult each other as a joke with no one being offended by it. When a random person tries to join, it'll be awkward for both sides. This random person will see this behavior as toxic, and the group will have a hard time getting along with the new guy. Basically, the way the group have been comfortable acting like doesn't feel like something a public server should act. Should they keep the server public, they're forced to change their attitude, or else people would feel unwelcome. So the server was temporarily locked to private until further notice. After a long debate, and though this was long overdue, a decision was made to create a second server as the bridge. It acts like what it's supposed to do before, being a public main Reddit Discord server. Now, what gives you the idea that this old server's behavior goes outside? You haven't even seen the server for over 3 months, and pretty much the only ones inside your server that is also in the original server was me, Kaxer, and Kobe. Not like you're in any other Battlecat server aside from Trash Keys, and you weren't even active there. So pray tell me, is this your own personal rant, or do you actually see how the community interacts? You said in your earliest point that this would talk about the majority of the community, but in reality, all you have been explaining is just how a grand total of probably 6 or 7 people interact with you.
Matt Shea, now long-term player of the Battlecats, has remarked on many occasions how toxic and entitled members of the community are towards him for his playstyle.
I have a simple request: proof and backstory. Don't make it misleading. If he says that just because 1 or 2 random kids were making fun of his mistakes, I'm not really sure if that comment is really that big of a deal. And let's move on.
Why is there toxicity? People not being very good at the game. It seems these petty individuals are the community. The problem is, most of this entitled toxicity comes from tutorial makers and knowledgeable players.
Totally not pointing fingers there, Regit? But what do you mean by that? What the tutorial makers and known players actually do? Also, no, guide makers are not equal majority of the community. And no, no one in their right mind would blindly hate others who are bad at the game purely because they are bad at the game. You see this guy who made what possibly is the worst Chapter 3 moon loadout? Did we make jokes about this when this was posted? Yeah, we did. Did we hate or loathe this person because they haven't learned much from the game? Who do you think we are? The I Hate Everything channel?
Now, tutorials are great. They teach you how to do things, and tutorials will always be useful. But some of the people who make them have been put on such a high pedestal that they have been given the authority to decide how the entire community should act and what ideals to follow, like a corrupt government or a really bad religion.
When did anyone ever do that? No, really, if you have proof, I am genuinely interested about how these people would act like they're in control of how the community should act. You sure that these people weren't memeing or joking when you witnessed such thing happening? I can't deny this point because I don't have proof otherwise, but you also have to confirm this. This is really vague.
The Battlecats community was slowly influenced to become more and more xenophobic to people who weren't good at the game. A lot of these unelected governors took a dislike to me. This is how things go in the Battlecats community. People with lower levels of skill are maligned and hated, and thus the community is shutting itself off from influxes of new players and turning people away in an ever more destructive cycle.
Another one of your point to keep in mind that apparently we avoid those who are bad at the game.
You may think that if this High Council of Losers is so entitled about people's ability in the game, they want to help people improve, but they don't.
Except they do. In fact, almost 30 seconds later in the video, you say...
Back in the day, when I started out Battlecats, I made my way through the early game mostly through trial and error. At some point later on, I managed to secure the help of Alici. He'd give me advice on where I was going wrong, how to improve, and how to do certain levels.
By golly, he sure sounded like he didn't help you when he gave you advice on where you're wrong, how to improve, and how to do certain levels. Oh my god, Alici, why didn't you help him?
All was okay until Alici got tired of me being bad at the game, and questioning strats so I could get a better understanding of them. And while I was struggling through Go Diego Pass on a stream, he dropped in to say what is discussed in another video.
Yes, it's called snapping. People does that when they get sick and tired of something that they had to put up with for a while. It's a natural process, I reckon surely you can relate. After all, didn't you snap and threaten to kick me out of your server? See, this is the one good point that you make. After all, you realize that the people show negative attitude towards you, not because you're bad. I'm glad you finally understand.
Things are had started off so well, but when push came to shove, these people of the community couldn't be bothered to help. They'd much rather perch on their rostrum of excellence, damning anyone who's bad at the game.
Never mind, you didn't understand anything at all.
That's not true, they make tutorials, they're doing a perfectly good job.
But clearly tutorials aren't enough for some people. I'm an example of that. Even a guide on guides advice to look for certain things doesn't always help me enough to beat levels.
I don't really have anything against these statements, and it is true that some people need more help than others, but I will use this opportunity to point out that the guide on guides is the biggest project for a video that I put up most effort into, aside from this video, and take more sleepless night than my assignments. And what's the point of this video? It's to help people, like you. You said we're so entitled that we won't bother helping people? What exactly are we supposed to do? Privately tutor the entire BattleCats community? Do you expect that everyone who is good at certain things are obliged to help others and tutor others? If you're saying that you should at least try, well, we have. We make guide videos. We also connect with other players through Discord. But of course you didn't know about this. You only stay in your own Discord server.
But that's the thing. A highfalutin member of this round table of entitledness surely cannot be seen to tutor one of these disgusting fools who are bad at the game.
So let's just say that you mean at least we should try helping the PC community more than just through guys. Would that be correct? I mean, we kinda do. And it's our choice on what we do, really.
The bad players should be kept separate from them, like they're the cool kids in a school. Superficial advice is permitted, but to stay around with that lark is an offence of the highest degree. That's all happened and gone now, but I fear it's very close to happening again.
No, it has not really happened. Remember when I talk about the private Discord server? Well, we have a public server, remember? Now, you might not believe me when I say this, but people there are helping other people in the server. I know. Unbelievable. We might not have time to privately tutor everyone through every level, but we do what we can when someone asks. Sometimes guide makers would give inputs and lineups on tips and levels. Sometimes random users can also help others. Believe it or not, we try to keep our manners in order here. There may be small times where we can talk rudely when provoked, but all in all, we don't act like toxic people in sewer, if I remember your description correctly. So hey, extra advertisement to the server, check the BattleCats Reddit sidebar to join in. Who knows, you might actually want to see how the community act for once instead of just staying in your own server, Regit.
My closest helpers at the moment are Kobe and Lucas. I'd say Kobe is the closest, like Alici was in the past.
Am I really? Yeah, okay, I guess so, because everyone's already tired.
No offence to Kobe, his ability level is not that of what Alici's was. That, I feel, has separated Kobe somewhat from this senate of Dumbo. He wouldn't mind me being bad and moaning about failing as much. At least that's what I thought, until I found out that Kobe had betrayed me.
Okay, your point here is about how this message was set up and fake. Yeah. But your choice of word on betray, even if you say it's for comedic purposes, makes me wonder. Who is Kobe for you? Your underling? Your private tutor? Now I can't say that I speak for Kobe, but let me just say, he's just someone that helps you because he's a nice person. He's not yours or your supporter. He's just kind enough to help you. He can do and think whatever the hell he wants, and in no circumstances should, if this happens, be any form of betrayal. He's not in your possession. He's just a free guy. Let's move on.
I was shown this comment of his on what I assume is the BattleCats Discord, and it's made me feel so horribly alone. Is what I would be saying if this wasn't all an elaborate plan by the scum in the BattleCats Discord to trick me into hating Kobe. I just know all too well the lengths these nasty oafs will go to try and ruin my life. I have some people to say sorry to in this video, but not them. They don't deserve apologies for being bad, they don't deserve trust, they don't deserve the least bit of respect from any of you.
This point, honestly, this point pisses me off the most. You see the screenshot that you put? Did you actually see what the screenshots say? Should you actually see the screenshot, you would have known that this so-called scum who doesn't deserve the least amount of respect means no harm towards how you look at Kobe. This screenshot you put is extremely blurry and nearly unreadable, so let me bring up an actual screenshot from the server's message history. Here. The people with the invisible colored name, let's just call him Mr. Scum, created the fake message and asked if someone could PM this to Regit because he can. And here he pinged Kobe, whose nickname is Not So Lurker, and say that after he sees Regit's reaction, he can screenshot our conversation to prove that it is fake. Mr. Scum, who doesn't deserve apology, then said that he does it so that it won't hurt Kobe or anything since Kobe have proof, and that Mr. Scum, who doesn't deserve trust himself, gave permission to take. You can see this ping message being highlighted in Kobe's screenshot in the video, so yes, he did get notified by it. And no, Mr. Scum, who doesn't deserve the least amount of respect, does not mean actual harm. He just expects a reaction. You know, like a harmless prank. I won't deny that this whole thing is not a good thing, but it's far more tame than how you made it sound like. You've been talking with the least amount of proof until now, and now that you do have proof, it is shown that you didn't even inspect said proof unless you are trying to frame him with this blur. But I know you're not that horrible of a person, right? Are you? Are you?
I was fairly sure after my feeling watching Regit that he was one of the hateful bunch, but I think in hindsight I was being oversensitive.
If only you act like this to every joke people make.
And I apologise that it may not seem like I'm accepting it when you write it.
Hey, as long as it's genuine, but frankly, I have my doubts. Now let's move on to the Chilhola blocking issue. I'm going to cut a ton of parts for this.
People began to complain in increasing numbers that they were getting repeatedly timed out by Chilhola for no apparent reason. I unmodded him. He disputed this and wanted to be a mod again, so I'd remod him. When I tried to speak to him, I thought Chilla blocked me. This turned out not to be true, and it was in fact a Discord issue. I did try and frame Chilhola as the one in the wrong, and I'm sorry that I presented the story that way, Chilhola. Really, I want us to be friends.
I again have my doubts, and I have proof of that. But if I do, then two issues will arrive. 1. It would mean an invasion of privacy. And 2. This might be overkill. I'm not here to break your soul in your career. Now let's just say from experiencing your server, you took a very random and unreasonable 180. That's why I have my doubts. I'll leave it at that. Actually, I'll link you a POCD video in the description that I feel fit for the situation. Check it out.
I can't have a go at a toxic community and then be toxic myself. I said I'd take some responsibility, and here it is.
You being responsible is apologizing to Chilhola. What? Are you saying that this is the only thing you admit you did wrong? Framing Chilhola and nothing else? You sure? I mean, I don't really want to list the things you could have been responsible to because I expect you to know it yourself, but come on, really? At least be responsible in what you did for Team Crying Emoji server.
Let's talk about a solution to all this. A very simple thing we can try and do. Be tolerant.
Oh, come on now, Regit. You just said you'll never respect those manipulating types in the Battle Cats Discord.
Well, yes, I'm not going to be tolerant of people who try and stir up drama and break friendships. That's another reason why I'm apologising to Chilhola. If I didn't, I'd be a massive hypocrite. Despite our differences, we should still all be able to go around our community lives and not try to destroy each other.
Rewind, what was that?
I'm not going to be tolerant of people who try and stir up drama.
You're not gonna be tolerant to those who stir up drama? I don't know, man, but I think you should be tolerant of yourself.
On the Regit is Garbage video, Alici commented a kind of peace statement, and we've never talked to each other since.
Not that it's a good thing or anything, since the problem didn't actually get solved.
TimTam72, who once wrote a massive attack on me, came onto Discord and apologised. I appreciate their ability to be tolerant.
Except that this so-called massive attack was just a form of a single, edgy, short comment. I would understand that it sounds rather rough, it is pretty edgy actually, but I don't understand why you made such a big deal about it. It's like you have never seen anyone say KYS on the internet.
That's what we should all do. Accept people who are bad at the game, take people's views into account, and if you can stretch to it, help and tutor people in the community, like Taki has been doing for Chawsey.
New Battlecats for the Discord server. Now let me just say, guide makers and players who are more knowledgeable in the game have never had any obligation to tutor people. I already said this before, but we only help people when we're free and we feel like helping. It's a good thing to do, but we're never obliged to do it. It's a choice. If you're gonna say that you're not gonna force us to, then don't complain if you're not getting as much help from guide makers anymore.
If you can't bring yourself to help, just stay away from people. That's what I'd like to do with those people who tried to turn me against Kobe. Clearly, we will never see eye to eye, so just stay out of my life.
I think you can see why the Mr. Scum case is the case I hated the most, because this is the Chilhola Discord block false accusation case all over again. Except that this time, the very evidence you were interpreting things wrong was right in front of your eyes, but you ignored it. Something tells me that if you're not gonna change anytime soon, this would keep on happening.
As a final point to clear up, sorry to anyone who I may have offended in the video. I don't mean for that, I'm just speaking my mind.
Let me recite the insults you've used up until now. Toxic, poisonous, concentrated hate, highly entitled people, garbage, scum who doesn't deserve the least amount of respect. Yeah, I think it's safe to say you didn't offend anyone.
And a lot of the issues here are personal, thus I feel very strongly about them.
This point? This is the point I agree most in the video. This statement have never been more correct. As the videos goes on, this starts to become clear. I feel that this whole time you're just talking about your own interaction in the community and not how the community actually interacts with each other. Do you really know how the Battle Cats community is like, or are you just making assumptions based on your personal experience? I'm not saying that what happened to you have never happened to anyone else. After all, we're far from great and we can still be a dick when provoked. But it's far from how extreme you put it in your video. Anyways, video is really closing to an end. Let's move on.
I'm not here to incite hatred, and no one should incite hatred either. Let's just work together, or at the very least, not work against each other.
At the last point in your video, I don't have much to say for this. First, I agree that not destroying each other would probably be better. But let me be a hypocrite on making this video. Frankly, I was hoping that I can clear misunderstandings, but as I'm writing the script, I realized that I probably would only cause more problems. But I will still put my hope into that small chance of that the misunderstanding would be cleared up here. But if it doesn't, then yes, I would be a hypocrite. Second, who are you to govern on how the Battle Cats community should act? Weren't you against that? Didn't you say that only highly entitled people say such thing? Well, that about does it. I know what I say can definitely be improved and maybe criticized here and there. It's not impossible for me to make mistakes. But remember, there's a difference between proving someone wrong and blatantly accusing someone wrong. I also realize that I have not much proof to back up some of my statement, and I'm sorry for that. But frankly, Regit, you should also back up your claims with proof. Now remember, don't expect that a video titled Drama Over would end this issue. Here's some ways for you to improve your videos. 1. Show evidence. The only 2 times you show a clear evidence was when you point out that Rufus says the community was trash, which was taken out of context, and the other about the case of Mr. Scum, which backfired. 2. Rename your video. The way some people treat me can be kinda garbage sometimes.
Lucas has absolutely no sense of tact.
And now, it's time to end things off.
I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay.